peasants and serfs back in England, and they were given this opportunity to come to America and to work. And after 7 years, they would get their freedom and then be able to live as free people in a sense, because in Europe, all land had been taken by the 1500s by the lords and nobles. There was no opportunity for someone who didn't have the blood to be able to own. And so the opportunity now to come to America becomes important. So 1619, we have these Africans come in. And it's interesting, for the first kind of 20 years of America's history, those indentured servants that were African were treated no differently than those indentured servants that were white. No different. Now, mind you, in all the other parts of the Americas, people were practicing what we call perpetual servitude. It's the type of slavery you think about today, where the mother is enslaved, and that means the child is enslaved, and that means the grandchild is enslaved, all that kinds of stuff. So everybody else is practicing that, but the British are using this model of 7 years and you're free until 1632. In 1632, three indentures run away. 2 of them are white and 1 of them is of African descent. They are captured again. The 2 whites are given 20 extra years on their indenture, and the black dude gets life. At that point, the British changed their policy and end up just enacting what everyone else had: the Spanish, the Portuguese, the Dutch, everybody else, which was perpetual slavery. Meaning you're enslaved, your progeny, and everybody else going forward is enslaved. Okay? So that's 1619. That's kind of the die is cast. We begin to do this. By the time we get to 1634, we've got a policy that now distinguishes white versus black. Fast forward, 1676. It's a thing called Bacon's Rebellion. Okay? The notion of class had become very important in early Virginia, because you had all these people who were formerly indentured servants, a working class, and you had a very small number of elite people. And these working class people had been promised, an opportunity. But at the end of every 7 years, there was no opportunity. They'd have to sign back up again. And finally, a charlatan, a guy who's really a rich dude, comes in and tells them that they can have everything, the world. You know what I mean? Oh, it's the Indians who are stealing from you. It's the Africans who are causing the problems. It's all these other folk. If you just get with me. Now, this guy was rich and had land, but he's talking to the common people. His name is Nathaniel Bacon. And they end up taking up arms and taking over Virginia and doing a class reversal, literally taking the landed people and taking on their clothes, kicking them in the streets, all that kind of stuff. And the British are looking at this crazy thing, because we're a colony at that point, and saying, what can we do? They send the British troops. They're going to get this thing quelled. Nathaniel Bacon's going to die. And the British are going to figure out that this issue of race is important. Why? Because we got to figure out a way to keep these lower class, middling, working class whites away from attacking us. Yep. So if I can create some other thing that allows them to have some status in the middle of this, then that notion of race becomes infinitely more important. You guys get where I'm coming from? Yep. Infinitely more important. Fast forward, all of a sudden we're going to have all kinds of wars that are going to be going on in the 1700s. One in particular that I want you to kind of center yourself on is called the 7 Years' War. We call it the French and Indian War in the United States, but it's really England versus France versus Spain in Europe and some other partners, and then their colonies fighting each other in the Americas. Okay? Now in 1756, that's just a key year, that's when the war starts. The war ends in 1763, and the big loser is France. Mm-hmm. They lose all of what is Canada, so you guys are going to be there, and we're going to see why they speak French and everything else, and they lose the Louisiana Territory. People don't realize this, but they lost it. They didn't get it back until 1801. So the French are the big losers, okay? But the other part is America is growing and growing and growing. So now all of a sudden we're going to get the French get it back, and we're going to have the Louisiana Purchase that is going to happen in the United States. Oh, rewind. The United States was created in 1776, right? When we come to the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia in 1787, the notion of what will this nation be, a nation that allows slavery or not, will be tabled for 20 years. They'll say, we got a new nation that we're trying to build and kind of come together, and we cannot have this be the fight. So they table it for 20 years, allowing it to fester and grow in other spaces. All of a sudden, we get the Louisiana Territory, 1803, and as I told my group on that bus, that it coincides with also a patent that was delivered in 1793 to a guy named Eli Whitney. It was called the cotton gin. And it was the creation of the cotton gin and that patent and the opening up of the Louisiana Territory that will push this next wave of enslavement that will happen in the 1800s. This is when this is going to become important. What? Places like Maysville, places like Ohio, they're going to become more important in this new age. Now it's the early 1800s. And we begin to have a few things happen. One, in 1807, England, Britain, which 2/3 of all people of African descent who had come to the Americas came on British ships. But in 1807, the British decide that they are no longer going to engage in the process of bringing Africans to the Americas and outlaw it for all of the rest of their trading partners. The United States, I really need some people. You guys get where I'm coming from? I just got the Louisiana Territory. Where can I get these folks from? As I told the people on this other bus, they get them from the old South, Virginia, North Carolina. And that's when the Ohio River and its ability to go down to the Mississippi River and to get to places like Natchez, Mobile, New Orleans is going to be central. And that's why this area, Mason County, is going to become even more important. At this point, we'll begin to have individuals debating things like, should we have slavery or should we not have slavery? We're going to get a thing called the Missouri Compromise. It's going to come along where they're going to say, okay, you guys may know the United States used to always try to allow 2 states in at the same time. So we have an even number of slave states and free states. But all of a sudden, Missouri wants to come in as a free state or as a slave state, and there was no other place or territory that had their paperwork together to submit at the time. And so we get the Missouri Compromise that says we allow Missouri in as a slave state. You guys know what else they create? Maine is created out of Massachusetts to create another state so it'll be even. And then they restrict slavery to the area below the southern border of Missouri. I mean, from this point on, slavery has to be, as the new places come, it has to be below that border. That's what it's going to be. So now you begin to see people having fights over this notion of what we call free soil. The notion of what are we going to do as we get new places? Are they going to be enslavement or are they going to be free? And those are debates that are going on in Congress every day, every day, every day, every day. All of a sudden, we finally get to a big war that we're going to have with a country called Mexico. It's called the Mexican-American War. And during that war, we're going to fight a war because we're trying to expand America to get to the West Coast. It's called Manifest Destiny. That the country would spread from sea to shining sea. You get where I'm coming from? That the question becomes, but what of the new land? Is this new land, places like Colorado, places like California, places like Arizona, New Mexico, are they going to become places with slavery? It becomes a big question. You guys may know California was going to be 2 states, a northern one and a southern one. The southern one below that line so that slavery could be in the south and the other one could be at the top. And they would have that as an easy way to be able to have 2 states coming at the same time. So after the gold rush of 1848, 1849, California has enough people to be able to become a state. And it's going to petition to become a state. But there's no other state that's going to come in. But the numbers of slave states and free states had been tipped because of Texas already. So by the time we get to 1848, the Southerners, or the people who own people, are the majority in Congress. California is going to come in and seek to be a free state. To give up that majority in Congress that the people who were owners of humans had, they needed something, right? If I'm going to give up this majority, you're going to now take away my advantage in the Senate. I need something. And that's going to be the key thing for us in most of this trip. It's called the Fugitive Slave Law of 1850. It's part of the Compromise of 1850. California comes in as a free state, but then the Southerners get their thing, the Fugitive Slave Law. And it says this: prior to the Fugitive Slave Law, if I left Maysville, Kentucky, and got to Ohio, I was free. After the Fugitive Slave Law, it says that my former owner can come into a free state to retrieve me, that the officials in the free state have to assist when they come. They can show a warrant, and then they have to assist in me coming to get you. And number 3, it makes it a federal crime for anyone to aid or abet in someone getting their freedom. It changes everything. Because now, as opposed to getting to the north, just across that river, you got to get all the way to a real free place called Canada. And it's the 1850s that our tour is really kind of centered in. All this interesting activity that's going to be going on. So we're now here at a place that is sacred to me. It's because of a family that grew up here. The family is the family of the Youngs. And the father's name is Gabriel and the mother is Aramenta. Araminta. Does anybody know any other famous person whose name was Araminta? It's the actual name of Harriet Tubman also, okay? And Gabriel, you guys know, Gabriel the archangel, right? His trumpet and everything else. I just say that because I believe there's something special that went on here. In the end of the Civil War, those last years, 1864, 1865, Gabriel decided that this was not the place he wants to be anymore, that he wants to take some of that freedom for himself. Aramenta decides that they're not going to do that anymore. They want to take their freedom for themselves. And in 1864, they and their little child cross that river and go over to the other side. The father, Gabriel, will go on to fight for the Union cause, will be rewarded with land, and will establish his own home and everything else on the other side, which we're going to go today to a place called Ripley. And the son that they bore, whoo! His name is Charles. And we're going to now begin with a story about Charles Young, the third African-American to ever graduate from West Point. This flag is the flag of a brigadier general. And this right here is a gentleman named Mr. Buddy Goldstein. Everybody give it up to Buddy. Buddy Goldstein is one of the most important local and I would say national kind of advocates of this work around abolitionism, around the recognition of the spaces and places that were here. And he's also, him and his homeboy, his name was Jerry Gore, I kind of gave you guys that name last night, are really central to a lot of this history that you're going to see in this area in terms of finding it, preserving it, celebrating it, and using it to learn and teach from, okay? So everyone give it up to Mr. Buddy Goldstein, and he will tell you some more about Charles Young and about this space.